is money, honey. All we talk is money. All we talk is money. It's like bees to the honey. Honey, money, honey, money, honey. It's the sauce cast, baby.
Front center, baby.
What's up? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome to the Sauce, the sexiest financial podcast in the world. This is where finance meets romance. You can hear it in my throat that I've been doing too much of the romance stuff, not the finance stuff.
Yikes.
But the show must go on, so I'm happy to be here. This is the sexiest financial podcast in the world. Today we're going to be discussing a lot of financial topics, relationship topics, what's going on in the world. Nat, what do we do on this show? I'll let you do this one.
Oh, well, welcome everybody. It's your favorite place, the only place where we want to see you get paid, laid, and do it your way.
Okay, that's right. Paid, laid, to do it your way.
Yes.
Nat's in the house. We got a special panel for today. Guys, full disclosure, I'm not feeling my best. So these guys right here are going to over-deliver.
Yes.
Usually I'm very talkative, rambunctious, but today these guests are going to crush it. They're no stranger to cameras. They're all very famous in their own right. So today they're going to step up and deliver. So we got Tyler McBroom in the house, CPA tax strategist to the stars.
What's going on?
Friends with Tony Robbins, partners with Tony Robbins, massive Instagram following. Moved recently from California to Jupiter.
Uh-huh.
He's in the house. He's, are you better looking or are you rich? Which one is it? Because there's both. You're a good looking dude, you're also rich.
I like to straddle the line.
Which one is it? Jesus Christ, this guy. So how long you been in Florida now?
About 2 years.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
welcome to Florida.
It's the best move I've ever made.
Yeah, that's right.
Love
You don't miss California at all?
Not one bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Catalina Loft's here. The amazing, the incredible, the gorgeous, the talented, the politically motivated, the woman who wishes that she was born in the 70s or raised in the 70s.
Yeah, I do.
I saw something like that. You were on a car today.
Yeah.
Former GOP nominee for U.S. Congress, out of Illinois, 60 miles out of Chicago.
Yes.
Founder of the Defense of Freedom PAC, and advisor to Begin Health Kids. What else?
I'm really good at cooking macaroni and cheese.
She's really good at
Round of
cooking.
applause. I love that.
That possibly might be the best thing on your resume.
Yeah.
Forget about being a member of Congress. She's a member of the Macaroni and Cheese fan club.
Yeah.
Amazing. To your right, to my left, we got Sarah Dawn Moore, relationship coach out of San Diego, YouTuber. She's helping you guys out there navigate the modern dating scene. It's a mess out there these days.
It's a mess out there.
It's a mess out there. We're going to help some of these guys out there, yeah?
I hope so.
Oh my God, it's a mess out there. To your right, my left, we got Natalie in the house, graduate of SUNY, not Sunny,
That's right.
New York, Potsdam, now living in Fort Lauderdale, marketing consultant, blonde bombshell.
Thank you, Adam.
There you go. There you go. Anything else you'd like to add to that?
Shout out TD Commercial Group.
Okay, I don't know who that is, but shout out
My
to you,
employer.
random people. All right, I don't know who that is. Ayana Rodriguez. She's an entrepreneur. She's the founder of Itavi. Itavi, in my pronunciation ain't what it used to be these days. It's I actually saw you on Instagram. It's a childcare company that specializes in what? De-stressing vacations.
So, very good. And I know you're under the weather, so that was
Yes,
great for
thank you.
remembering all
Doing my
that.
best.
So, we do partner with luxury hotels and offering childcare to guests as they're traveling, because who wants to take their kids out to dinner when you're paying an arm and a leg to have relaxing time? So that's what we do.
right.
Part of what we do.
I'm trying to make some kids out
Hey,
here. I'm trying to make
we have
some
Sarah
freaking
here who can help
babies
you.
out here. Hook me up. All right, so real quick, before we get started.
Are you
we
offering
asked-
your sperm?
What's that?
Are you offering your sperm?
Wow, I think we have a taker.
Yes.
We should just do a live auction
Yes.
here.
Guys, freeze your sperm out there. I'm actually looking into that these days.
I don't know.
All right, real quick.
Yeah.
All right, before we get into we're really going down the rabbit hole here for a second. Nat's in the house.
Yeah. Hello, I'm in the house.
I've renamed her Nagtalia. She's always telling me, do this, do this, do this. Drink your water.
Right?
Feel your best.
I'm trying to help you.
I'm trying to appreciate what you're doing.
Nag you to
I got
success.
vitamin C on lock these days. I'm like,
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Nat.
Nag you way to your health back.
That's right.
Yes.
Before we meet our guests and get more familiar with them, what would you like the audience to know?
Well, thank you all for tuning in on our Thursday Saucecast. We appreciate each and every one of you guys today. I definitely recommend you guys to be in the chat today. Give us some great questions. We have a sick lineup. I think this is one of the best lineup we have when it comes to business experience and diversity when it comes to our panel. So I'm super excited. Sauce is a little under the weather, but I think we can pull it together as a team. And Sauce, take it away.
The show must go on,
It must
guys.
go on.
I missed the PBD podcast this morning. PBD's like, listen, dude,
Yeah.
take your time, rest up.
Drink your water.
Struggling out here, guys. I'm struggling out here, but I feel okay. I'm just, you know.
And you
Lou,
look good.
Thank
so,
you.
You
All
know.
right. I'm freezing my sperm, so
Oh,
everything's
I don't
Everything's
know.
good.
That part.
All
So I
right.
can watch
All right.
your kids.
All right,
That's
guys.
perfect.
Exactly.
I'm trying to make some babies out here. Anyway, what we usually ask our guests before we get started on all the topics that we're going to get into today is we want to know your relationship status and how you make your money. So go ahead. You're helping kids, you're helping families de-stress on vacations. I assume you got some kids.
I got quite a few. I have 3
All right,
of
go
them.
ahead, girl.
So I got 3, starting with 21 almost.
You got a 21-year-old?
Yes,
Holy
yes,
shit.
Yes. I'm 50, so
Wow.
Wow.
yeah.
You said he looks
I just
good.
had the
Damn, girl.
biggest
You're
50th birthday
50?
party. We blew it out at the W Hotel. My husband had fireworks. It was
Wow.
amazing.
You know, they say black don't crack, brown don't frown. I don't
I
know
mean,
what you are. But you got it going on.
have it
50? Holy shit.
So
All
yeah,
right.
so
You are
married, 3 kids. Itavi Kids, which is a brainchild that I founded a bunch of years back.
Wow.
And what was the other question? How do
I
you
don't
make
know.
our money?
I'm lost in the sauce right now. Yeah. So you're married, 3 kids, 21. What are the ages?
13 and 8.
Wow. Okay.
The spread keeps me on my toes. That's what keeps me young, because I'm always trying to figure out what is next. But so that Itavi Kids, which I launched right before COVID, interestingly enough, November of 2019. And so we partner with childcare, with luxury hotels, and we have the Dolphins as one of our partners, and a lot of different high-end condo associations, and we really resolve for childcare and a whole different unique approach to the market, and working on really cracking a nut that's tremendously hard to crack. Trust.
Good
Who
for
defines
you.
trust?
And you said you're in Coconut Grove?
That's where I live.
So she's
yes.
local.
Local.
Happy 50th birthday. Holy shit.
Thank you.
I don't know what's going on here, but
Yeah. I take my
didn't see
vitamin
that one coming.
C.
Yeah, give me some vitamin C. I want to look like you. All right, Natalie, what's your story?
In terms of,
Relationship status, and then your how you make your money.
well, single.
Okay. There was a pause right there.
Right.
Yeah, single is
Okay.
a Pringle. But I don't really understand that saying, because if you think about it, a Pringle comes in like a huge stack of like 200 chips, and who only really eats one chip at a time? You take like a handful.
What is this, a comedy set right now? What's happening right now? What is happening right now?
It's the ADHD
What's
in my
the deal
brain.
with Pringles these days? Ask your relationship status. You just gave a comedy Pringle joke. Okay, go ahead.
I don't make my money that way though.
Yeah, clearly.
No, I'm just freelance right now. 3
Okay.
days into the new gig. Before that, unemployed for 2 months, got laid off. I was working pharmaceutical marketing for rare diseases in corporate America.
All right, that's not funny at all.
No.
Okay. All right, well, welcome to the show. How long did you were born and raised in New York, or what area?
Yeah, upstate.
Okay, cool.
Potsdam.
Upstate. Was it Potsdam?
Potsdam, yeah.
Gotcha, and you're in Fort Lauderdale now.
Yeah.
Sarah.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Look at this
Relationship
elegant lady
coach?
out here. She's going to help you gentlemen out there improve your dating game out there.
That's
What's your relationship
right.
status? I assume you're in a relationship.
I am single, but very much so dating.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, we can go into that story later on. if
Yeah,
you
we
want me
will. We're going to get right into this thing. Okay. So
and
your
I-
relationship coach is single.
to. Yes, but I talk a lot about my experience and what I found out and what I've learned from my
Hmm.
childhood. So if you guys have any trauma in the house, would love to help you out with that.
Why are you looking at Catalina? She has no trauma. She has no drama. She's
I look
doing great.
traumatized. But yeah, I really try and help people understand kind of how they get there and how they got to where they are and why they choose the people that they choose, and how to navigate being in a healthy relationship.
Okay. All right.
You ready for
Catalina?
that?
Yeah, I'm ready
I feel
for
like
all
I
that.
need to hire Sarah after this. No, I am not married. fairly single. And how do I make my money? Not insider trading like most politicians do.
Shout out to Nancy Pelosi in the
Yes,
house. Okay,
yeah, definitely not that way. My sister and I have a startup in the kids' healthcare space. We help kids poop and are disrupting the mural acts, taking on big pharma. And also am currently also still involved in politics here and there, helping out other candidates, a lot of veteran organizations, a lot of different health initiatives and wellness initiatives, and hopefully getting back in the arena sometime soon.
So, for those of us that don't know, you were on PBD Podcast a year ago. You were running for Congress in the state of Illinois, the district of, what district was it?
The 11th district.
And that city's, what cities does it encompass?
Naperville, Woodstock, Crystal Lake. It was a pretty big district, but we will not be in Illinois anymore, just given the climate out there. Sorry, love Illinois, born and raised there. But it's just too blue at this point, and I would love to build my life in a different state that's a little bit more friendly to conservative Republicans.
Wow.
So,
What are the leading candidates right now?
to be determined.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hang on tight, guys. We'll
Depends where I meet my husband, you know.
That's
a
true.
big factor. I'm just totally kidding. But.
Well, that's why Sarah's here.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Tyler.
Yes.
I guarantee you're married. A guy like you.
Oh, yeah. Married 11 years, almost 11 years. 11 years in September. We got 2 kids, a 9-year-old daughter and a 5-year-old boy, almost 6. We just got back from 2.5 weeks in Key West. They went snorkeling. It was awesome. We had a great family trip.
And how old are you?
Anyways, 37.
37?
Yeah.
Dude, you're a stud, dude. I've been following you on Instagram
thank you.
for quite some time. And keep up the good work.
Yeah,
buddy.
thank you.
And I'm not currying favor with you because I need help with my taxes whatsoever. You're doing your thing. Anyway, Nat,
Yes.
you're going to be managing the chat.
Yes, I'll be here in the chat. So give us some good chats, give us some good questions. And I forgot to say, if you haven't liked the video, make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Because as Sauce likes to say, he's on the mood, but your mom's a hoe if you don't.
Yeah. If you watch the video and you're not liking the video and you're just watching these beautiful, amazing people out here and you're not subscribing to the channel, tell them what their mom is, Nat.
She's a hoe.
Your mom's a hoe. Yeah. I mean, I don't know why she's so afraid to say that, but
it's just not
that's
nice.
just what it is. Anyway, here's some of the topics we're going to be discussing today. Stay tuned because it's going to get juicy towards the end. I guarantee that. So you hate your job, Wall Street Journal article. They talk about rage applying is not the answer. We'll get into that. How much you want your man to make a year. Top 10 most expensive metro areas for renters. We're going to get into some of these cities that we've discussed. 7 cities where $250,000 a year equals nothing, is worth nothing. We're going to discuss some of the comments that our friend Andrew Tate made about loyalty when you're locked up in bars. Mary J. Blige, Real Love, great singer. She's speaking about real life these days because she's paying an absurd amount regarding alimony. You know Mary J. Blige. You've got some videos about how millionaires hide their money, and you expose them for a little bit. We'll play that. We'll discuss what is a slut, the difference between a man and a woman.
Oh.
Sorry about that. I mean, that's Sarah. You're in this arena. And the mindset behind a 35-year-old single woman, what she's looking for in a man. By the way, you're 50, you're
24.
24,
38.
38,
30.
30, 37. And Nat, you're still somehow 21 5 years later. Unbelievable.
Oh, great.
Okay.
I'm the oldest person in this room.
You look phenomenal.
You
I
look
love
the
brown,
youngest,
don't
so-
frown.
What's
I'm
your
here for
background,
that.
by the way?
So my father's Puerto Rican.
There it
whoa,
is.
And my mother's black, so that makes me Boricua, right?
You're a Boricua. Shout out to the Boricuas in the
That's
casa.
right. That's
Okay.
right. Representing.
Perfect. So, look, let's just start off with a very light topic. The worst job you ever had, how much you hate your job. Here's an article that I actually saw in the Wall Street Journal. Pull this up real quick, Nat.
Yep.
And it's Wall Street Journal. That's the only place I actually get my news these days because the only place you can really rely on not being too biased. It says you're rage applying for jobs and recruiters are onto you. You hate your job. This is what this article. Can you scroll up for a little bit to the top of the article?
That's the
Keep
top.
going.
That's the top.
No, that's it. That's it. All right. Anyway, they talked about hating your job. So job market's kind of weird these days. COVID, unemployment was all-time high. Now the unemployment, I think, is at, what, less than 4% these days, pretty decent. But a lot of people are basically maneuvering where they want in their life. So just so people understand where you're at, what you've done, worst job you've ever had, and your favorite job you've ever had. Let's just discuss that. Okay, Tyler, go first. Worst job you've had. You're a CPA.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am a CPA.
You've been doing that for how long?
About 12 years.
Okay.
So I think worst job I ever had was when I sold appliances for Sears for about 2 weeks. And I wanted to get sales experience. I was a valet at the time, and I was living in Huntington Beach, and so I was at a valet at a restaurant on the ocean, so I literally got to exercise and like on the beach while I went and got cars. But I said, I want to go get a skill that I was going to learn something that would apply later in my life. So my roommate said, hey, I think I can get you a job at Sears. And it was in 2008, so not a lot of people were buying appliances in 2008. So they basically pay you minimum wage unless you whatever you sell. And so I'm here, and they put me in the trash compactor section. And I realized real quick that I wasn't going to get the skills because it wasn't like professional sales. And I was about to take a 4X pay cut to go sit inside when I could go run on the beach and get paid pretty good money for it for a college kid. And so about 2 weeks in, I went to the supervisor, and I said, I think I don't really want to work here anymore. And I said, do I need to put in my notice, or what do I need to do? And he said, well, you could just walk out that elevator right now, and I can't really do anything about it. So I said, I think that's what I'm going to do. I shook his hand, and I walked out. And I feel like any job that you're going to be in, if it's a rough job, but you're learning skills for the future, it's worth sticking it through and learning. Mm-hmm. But in that case, I took a pay cut and wasn't getting any real skills, and so I had to get out of there.
And then best job you ever had?
I think what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. Explain what you do, by the way.
So I'm a CPA, so certified public accountant. I help business owners pay as little taxes legally possible. But pretty much I have my team doing that for me, and I get to lead them and grow them and basically teach business owners about taxes, both on social media and then from stages like Tony Robbins events and things like that. And so I love, unlike a lot of accountants, I actually love getting up on stage and getting in front of the camera. And I was going to be a teacher at one point, so now I kind of took, and my degree was actually in creative writing. And then I realized that I got tired of being broke, so I went and started being an accountant. So now I kind of get to marry all of that previous kind of multi-job experience, and I get to lead a company of great people and get up on stage and speak and teach. And I have people tell me that I changed their life from watching me speak for 30 minutes. And I never thought I'd get the chance to do that by talking about taxes, but
yeah, that's
rewarding.
Awesome. When I think of CPAs, I don't think of stage presence. I think of just sit back there and just start fucking crunching some numbers, buddy.
Yeah.
But so how did your relationship come about with Tony Robbins?
Yeah, so I used to be partners with my dad up until a couple years ago. And when I first became a partner with him, he said, I don't want to bring you on as a partner and take a cut in pay, so we've got to grow. So started looking for ways to grow, and one of those ways was I joined a mastermind group and kind of got known as the tax guy in there. They asked me to lead a 90-day course on taxes, and I said, well, this would be a great way to get some clients. So I said yes, and then half the people who signed up for that course were Canadian. And I don't know a lick of Canadian tax law, but I still wanted to make sure there was some value there. So I reached out to this accountant group that I was in and said, hey, anyone want to come teach? And the guy who raised his hand and said, I'll do it, was the Canadian partner for Tony at the time. He told me about the program, this Global Accounting Advisors thing where Tony talks about the importance of getting a second opinion at this event, and then everyone runs to the back of the room and you meet with hundreds of people and help them save taxes. And I said, that sounds like that I'd be interested in. And so he gave me the name of the guy who's kind of running the program. Cold emailed him, kind of just didn't really get any response. Followed up for every couple months, would follow up, no reply, follow up, no reply, and then finally after about 2.5 years I'd be like, hey, I'm on Instagram, here's my account, I'm really helping people. Hey, I'm at 10,000 followers. Hey, I'm at 40,000, I really think I'm helping people. Here's an article I wrote for Forbes. And then finally, in the summer of 2019, his assistant said, "Hey, Tyler, can we meet next week?" And then it turns out they had a partnership that didn't work out. They said, if you can hop on a plane to Vegas next month, the next Business Mastery, the partnership's yours.
So how long were you basically reaching out to Tony Robbins and before he actually responded?
It was, so we got an initial reply. Saying, tell us about your firm. And then the timing of the calendar didn't work out. That was in April 2017. And then it was summer of 2019. So about 2.5 years of initial reply and then no reply after that.
So it took you almost 2.5, 3 years to actually formalize this
ghosted.
relationship.
Yeah, and then
there's a lesson there to all my salespeople out there.
Yeah,
good things take time. Don't give up. You know, they say that I think that the average sales process takes at minimum of 5 calls, but most people give up after 1 call.
Yeah,
ever heard these stats?
Oh yeah.
So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Tony Robbins. Hello, Catalina Love. She was running for Congress.
Yeah.
Congress approval ratings are disastrous these days.
Yeah.
I feel like if you would have entered that, they would have skyrocketed.
Thank you.
Worst job you've ever had, best job you've ever had. Where are you at in life right now?
Yeah, worst job I've ever had. I actually think about this. It was my first real life experience with communism, and I'll tell you why. I was a sushi waitress in high school, and for some reason, I've always loved people, was really good at my job, had regulars, and so I'd make a lot of tips, right? And, I'd come home and my parents would be like, are you sure you're a waitress? You got a lot of dollar bills in your pocket. But for some reason, about a week after I was kind of making all this money and great tips, the managers say, hey, you're making a lot of money here. I think you need to split it with everybody else. Some of the other waitresses aren't making as much as you are. Some of the chefs aren't. And so, you're in high school and you're like, what? All right, well, that's fine. But I just realized that, I was almost basically being, I don't want to say, it was a de-incentive to do my job well with what I was able to provide or my personality, whatever it was. It just showed that you really do have certain talents or whatever you're bringing to the table at any job, and you should be rewarded based on your own work ethic and what you are bringing to the table, instead of it being basically split among, everybody else.
What do they call it? Pooling tips?
Yeah. But
Is that
it wasn't
not?
a thing.
I thought a lot of people do that though.
Well, now it's common, but even back then it wasn't, and so
back
I quit.
then, like 10 years ago.
I quit immediately after that. 'Cause I'm like, come on, I'm working so hard here. Not my fault. People, I don't want to say I'm good at my job, but it was, and so I quit after that because I was like, I'm not being, my worth is valued somewhere else. Best job I've ever had. I was in financial services and loved talking to the older generation, and I loved it so much that I went to apply for a job at a nursing home. And I would go there every Saturday, and I just absolutely loved listening to the older residents. We had a ton of World War II veterans there at the time, and so I spent every Saturday just listening. I was the program director and basically their companion, and it just filled my cup so much being around people and listening to them and getting to know them. And it was so sad to see these old people their kids wouldn't visit. They didn't have family. They were so lonely. And to be able to have I gained more probably from that experience than they did. But it was so rewarding to me. And I feel that having that experience really helped me love and recognize what I love to do, which is just be around people and listen to people, help solve problems. And it ultimately led me to the career that I'm in now in the public service space, because it really does feel like a calling. It feels like a place where I find purpose. And that was my best job.
So you work with kids these days, but you also, your favorite job was with
old people
in a nursing home. So you're working with babies or with...
So we're with little toddlers, but we're growing in that space. So eventually it'll be kids and also adults. We're disrupting the big pharma space, so disrupting Miralax, and helping really helping people take personal responsibility for their own health and wellness by looking at alternatives. We have a prebiotic for kids currently. We are getting in the adult market. So many people suffer with gut health issues, and so many studies now over the last 10 years have shown just the gut microbiome, brain and gut connection, and so many people now are finally realizing that it does impact so many aspects of life, both mentally, physically. And so now that there's kind of a wellness awakening, my sister and I have this startup that we're so proud to be helping so many kids. And it's not, Republican or Democrat or whatever. We want kids to be healthy and to thrive, and adults to take their health and wellness into their own hands and do it with a more holistic approach than just traditional pharmaceuticals.
Gotcha. By the way, you were running for Congress.
Yeah.
PBD, he has a new book coming out. His previous book was a Wall Street Journal bestseller, Your Next 5 Moves. The new book coming out is Choose Your Enemies Wisely, right? It's going to be a massive book. I think Penguin Publishing is putting it out. So this is just me out of curiosity. If you could debate one person in Congress today, choose your enemy, who would you want to debate? Go against?
Obviously, Boom. AOC.
That'd be your go.
Yeah, because don't they also say choose your opponents, and I think she'd be an easy target.
How would you handle AOC in a debate?
You don't have to handle much. You just put out facts, and you're right. I don't know how she's pretty illogical, I think, and I don't know. Actually, be kind of sad, right?
Let's see if we can arrange something like that.
You should. Hey, bring it on.
Maybe we'll do a debate and then an athletic debate.
Yeah.
Maybe a Jello wrestling. Maybe get crazy a little bit. No, Nat, no. All right. Nat's like, no, don't do that. Sarah,
hey.
Shifting gears. Best job you ever had, worst job you ever had? Start with the worst job.
Worst job I ever had was 20 years old, 21, right out of college. I worked for E&J Gallo Wine, and it was wine sales, but it was not the glamorous kind of wine sales. It was showing up at supermarkets, cutting boxes, all those stacks of wine you see. That was me. I had a boss who was sexually harassing me at the time. That was fun. That was like when we had T9 messaging. So there was a lot of.
So wine and sexual harassment.
Dicey combo.
It was a dicey combo. I kind of got pushed out because I wasn't putting out. So and then I got into the next job. This is my favorite job. Absolutely, 100%. So fulfilling. Being able to understand men and women, and I talk about really the dynamics of men and women and how they interact with one another. I think that, Mars and Venus was I'm kind of bringing that back. Like, let's understand how females and males really interact with one another so that we can best maximize how we communicate with one another.
How'd you get into the dating space?
I started using TikTok as a platform just to share my opinions, and I have 4 older brothers. They are my life, and really understanding that men were really underrepresented in the space. So I just started talking about what I learned about men in all of my life and all of my time, and then it just kind of started.
What did you learn about men that you didn't understand before you got into the dating space?
Do you want me to talk about on the whole show?
How much time do we have?
Really, how important respect is to them, and how much they want to be admired by their person, by the woman in their life, and how much they crave all the things that we crave, admiration, compliments, to be hit on every once in a while, to initiate physical intimacy. So there's a lot there.
To be hit on.
To be approached. I think that's the biggest thing that the men tell me, that they just wish that women would be more forward with them. So I try and help women, encourage them that, hey, if you see what you want, don't be afraid, don't be shy. We're independent women. We believe in equality, and we should take matters into our own hands every once in a while.
How's that working out? I feel like that's very uncommon.
Yeah, what if you're too forward? Just kidding.
It works out great for me. I have a wonderful dating life. I think that men really appreciate my perspective, and I'm not shy at all, and it does work out very well. I'm looking for Mr. Right now, and I get a couple proposals a day, so I think I'll be able to find him pretty soon.
You're looking for Mr. Right, or you're looking for Mr. Right now?
No, definitely no. We don't do Mr. Right now. We're definitely looking for Mr. Right.
Okay. Natalie,
Hi.
how you doing?
How you doing?
Yeah, I mean, don't be afraid to approach if you're. Worst job
Noted.
you ever had? I know you're young.
Yeah.
You're just getting life started.
I was going to say, I think I'm probably the youngest one up here at 24, but I want to preface by saying, you know, still at 24, I have almost a decade already of work-life experience under my belt. I started working when I was 15. So with that being said, I've had the pleasure of working with a lot of different managerial styles and personality types. So I know what I don't want in the workforce, let's just put it that way. And I don't want to name names because you never know who's listening to these things, so I don't want to give any company a bad rap. But when it comes to the worst job, I'll say any position I've filled at whatever company, if I'm not feeling valued or like I'm learning new skills that I can put on a resume that either, you know, even help me personally and professionally, is not the place for me. And unfortunately, I've had a lot of those experiences, you know, but knowledge is power, and at least I know that, and I now know what I can look for moving forward and what I want out of my next role or my next chapter in life. So I'd say that's probably the worst experience.
So I feel like that was kind of vague. I'm like,
It
what are you
is.
saying right now?
It is.
What happened, Natalie? Who hurt you?
A lot of people, Adam.
Really? Are you okay?
That's what therapy and antidepressants
Jesus,
are for.
what is
but
happening right now?
I'll give you my contact after.
Yeah.
please and thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sarah has, this is like,
Remove the trauma.
yeah.
But on the flip of that, best job I've ever had,
Yeah.
I will say something probably in the sense of a startup field, only because I've really had the pleasure of working directly with a lot of founders or CEOs of these companies. And when you work alongside people in that sort of position, you learn a lot and you learn a lot fast. I'll say this past week of starting, you know, my new freelance gig, I'm in office every day, but I'm working alongside, you know, the guy who started it all and has like 20 years of real estate experience under his belt and has started his own company from the bottom up. So you learn a lot fast, more so than you would in just having one job title in corporate America and doing the same thing every day, and then doing that same thing for a year or 2 years, and then maybe getting a promotion or going to another company where then you get to do something else. You know, this past week I've done so much more, specifically marketing, than I ever have at a prior job in my life so far, post-grad.
Got it. Ayanna, I want to ask you your opinion, but I feel the need to ask this question. You guys are all attractive women. You've kind of alluded to some weird stuff. You've come out and full on said that you were sexually harassed in your wine gig. We all know that Congress people are some of the creepiest people on the planet. Being an attractive woman in the workplace, how common is some weird stuff? Like, for a guy, this is not a thing that we have to deal with. Like,
Right.
we never have to deal with some chick, like, coming to my office. I'm like, yeah, come on in. Like, it's never a thing. But for attractive women, is this, like, how big of a concern is sexual harassment? Like, none of you guys are working with Harvey Weinstein out here, but is it actually common for attractive women to actually be harassed in the workplace? What are your thoughts?
I would say yes.
Really?
Yeah. But with a caveat that it depends on the woman's comfort level, because harassment is subjective. So, you know, for example, you know, if you're sending me explicit messages, like, yes, that's a clear delineation of sexual harassment. But my brother actually had an instance where he was pulled into an HR situation, and, you know, he had just put his hand on the back of his assistant and said, you know, can you tell them that I need 5 more minutes, like, to go tell the new clients, like, just give me a second. And that
Innocent.
was innocent,
Like, just
right?
like, hey,
yeah.
but-
So that was an incident. So I think it really just depends on what you deem sexual harassment. And I feel for guys sometimes, because how do you know where that line is? I don't know. That's subjective. but it can be common, and it depends on the industry too. Like wine industry is very, very well known for everyone's sleeping with everyone.
Yeah, I mean that's what alcohol and wine does.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, it was kind of I'm cutting a rug. I'm new into the industry. I need to learn the sales process, and it taught me lots of life lessons.
Yeah.
But as a woman, you also have to take responsibility for presenting yourself in a certain manner, I think, and making sure that you limit the opportunities for particular interactions. Just in my personal.
Which is hard to understand if you're starting out, you're naive, right?
100%.
So you're still learning the landscape and navigating how to read people when you haven't had that experience at that level. So I can understand how sometimes you can get yourself in a situation, you're like, but how did I get here, right? Because you just don't have the wherewithal to understand, well, you walked into the room and X, Y, and Z, right?
I think as us older women now, we
get
have
to, which is
experience.
Part of the experience, right?
Yes.
So I don't know if it's industry specific, I'm sure it is, but I feel that it's almost like just part of being a woman. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things, fortunately, unfortunately, you have to learn how to navigate, and you have to learn the signs. You have to learn your own boundaries. You have to just kind of grow up and understand that. And, I have 2 daughters, and so that's always, and even myself, I have a team I deal with. I have 99% of them are women, we're in childcare. And I use sweetheart, I use these words as a term of endearment, and this environment nowadays, that could be probably misconstrued and brought back to me in some way, but it's not my intention to offend anybody or make them feel uncomfortable by using some of those terms of endearment. But I do understand that people are sensitive. It could be triggering. I don't know all of the backgrounds of everybody. So it's just like we're learning. We're all still learning how to be better and how to take accountability for ourselves as well. I think you mentioned that.
Well, and I had 4 brothers, so I was schooled pretty early on how men, can sometimes work, and they were very protective. I kind of knew how just men were, locker room talk. So I'd imagine growing up with all girls, there could, how do you know, right? I've had girlfriends who grew up with all women, and like you said, it's really your own experience and what you learn from home and bring to the workplace, and how you navigate that, not knowing if a man touches you, that could really trigger something. For me, it's just
I think that's also where communication plays a really big factor, especially in the workplace. Like to your point earlier, if you're using "Hey, sweetie" as a term of endearment, and that's coming from your male manager, and that makes you uncomfortable as a woman, maybe address that and say, "Hey, I don't like being called sweetie. Please just call me Natalie. That's my name."
Right.
But is calling someone sweetie actually a problem?
I think it
what's
depends.
the line? Delineate this thing for me.
It depends on the person, right? If you call me sweetie and I'm telling you that makes me uncomfortable, then why would you continue to want to make me feel uncomfortable?
Oh, sure. If you come out and say that, right. But I feel like that's hey, how are you, honey? That's not.
Well, you have to
that
think
to
about...
me isn't harassment.
No, because your intentions were not that.
Right.
No.
So, but in what you're saying, and that you would just express it, and then it's in your ballpark to
then
continue or to kind of say, okay, I don't want to offend her, or
But as a woman,
hey, Nat, sweetie, do me a favor, all right? I love this next story.
Okay. But as a woman, you have to think about, okay, what's going to happen if I do confront this situation?
Right.
Yeah.
What are the repercussions of that are going to happen? And for me, in my situation, it was, okay, now he's going to be watching everything that I do. He's going to be writing me up. It became an HR issue because he wanted to retaliate. And this was I'm a little bit older than you all, so where Me Too movement was we can talk about that. That's another subject, but that wasn't a thing back in this first job. So there really wasn't. I think men are a little bit more cautious now.
Yeah.
Versus scared.
Yeah. I think also you have to consider kind of what's leading up to certain behaviors. If they're casual with you and they're like, hey, sweetie, can you help me with this? Like, I don't think it's deemed as like sexual harassment. But if you're a guy and, you know, your eyes are always wandering and you're always a little closer than usual and you're always whispering a little closer and you're like, hey, sweetie, like, there becomes a fine line where it's like, okay, you're using it not really for endearment, you're using it to kind of like, you know, kind of get closer to you. So I think it's just a matter of also like previous actions before certain things are done, because women can feel like when men have like a sexual intention, it's not very hard to like notice, right? Ladies, I don't know if you guys can, but it's it's pretty clear. Like, you call me sweetie, I'm not gonna be like, oh my God, Sauce is flirting with me. Like, that's not what I take that as, because you don't treat me that way. You don't make me feel uncomfortable. But if you're like touching me a little too much, or you're in my ear too much, like, and you're like, hey, sweetie, it becomes a little bit like, okay, now you've crossed the line, I feel uncomfortable, I'm going to express that. But I think, again, I think today people are more cautious of things like this. I think also how women react to certain things, it also becomes more of a, kind of like you're putting a yellow tape in front of the guy, like, hey, like, I'm not okay with that, like, let's back off a little bit. But again, I think it's also just your actions leading up to, you know, whatever it is that comes out of it.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I've never been in this world. Like,
well,
I'm
you're
not
not a creep.
Like,
that's why.
No, I'm not
you're
a creep.
All right? You flirt with girls, but you're not
I'm
a
friends with
creep.
women. I have a sister. Like,
yeah.
So who are the creepy dudes at work? I guess I'm wondering. Like, this is not one of my topics that I'm just actually genuinely interested in this. Like, is it always like some dude that hasn't been laid in 10 years? Is it always some married guy that isn't
sometimes it's married.
Getting attention? Like, in your experience, what's the creepy? Like, you're running in for Congress and politics. I don't know. I just feel like politicians are creepy as fuck. I don't know. But like, what's your experience? Like, who are these people? Because in my opinion, this is me. If as a woman, if you're like, hey, I have a boyfriend and I appreciate whatever you're trying to do, creepy guy, but like, I'm good, thanks. That to me is like, all right, cool, like, move on, right? Like,
yeah, but not all men are like that.
I think
that's
sometimes
my point.
Men
I don't
get
understand.
Off
like,
on,
who
like,
are these guys that are like, nah, I don't care that you have a boyfriend. I'm a creepy ass motherfucker. I'm gonna keep going.
Who
are these people?
I don't think they have a face.
Oh, maybe they have like an archetype.
A
It's
face.
just,
I think
I'm
it
generally interested. I don't know.
Men who
None of my buddies
they're all
do
different
this. I don't have
types.
any.
They're all different types.
It's single guys. It's guys that are married with kids.
that are unhappy in their marriage.
or happy.
But
just had
can
a
I
baby.
say something really
Yeah,
quick?
go ahead, Catalina.
I think a lot of, there are three sides to every story, right? I think that a lot of men now are scared in work environments to even compliment somebody or even be nice to a coworker because of so much of this Me Too movement. Not saying that some of the situations weren't valid, or there's obvious that in a lot of different industries. However, I think it does come down to a woman's comfort level. You know, if I'm okay with locker room talk, someone like Natalie or Sarah might not be, and it might be offensive, or vice versa, right? I think people have to have just kind of that emotional intelligence to be able to kind of understand those boundaries. Women should take responsibility too in how they are interacting with men, but I also believe, and men should as well, but I think that now because of such it's like guys are afraid to even like approach women nowadays, and not saying that you should at work, you know, like hit on your, you know, secretary, but I think that it's crossed a line now where it's taking away from like normal human connection. And where is that balance of, you know, Me Too to building friendships and building a human connection
And mentorship. I have
And
a
mentorship.
ton of men in my corporate, when I had my corporate life, that were legit business mentors like yourself, who's made money and who can teach me some things. I think that there's the atmosphere is tense right now between men and women.
Well, you touched on something. You said
friendships.
that men are afraid to approach women these days. Is that an overall sentiment that you guys have? Is that men are afraid to approach you for fear of getting Me Too'd? Is that something?
Are we saying it in the workplace or in
In
general?
life,
I believe that this whole toxic masculinity post-feminist era has really destroyed men being men, and now they don't feel that they can pursue, they don't feel that they can be confident in their advances if that's deemed too much, you know? Like my dad showed up at my mom's doorstep when they were first dating. Nowadays, like some women would think that's like a stalker, but like to my mom, that was love, you know? It's like, there's been such a difference now, and I think that men have had to dial it back, and then women have to be the aggressors, and we don't want to be the aggressors. Like, I don't want to be pursuing a guy. I want to be pursued, but so many guys.
Sarah wants you to go up and say, all the dudes.
Well,
just the initial approach, then you let him take it from there.
And that's fair, but I think that in such this, again, post-feminist era and toxic masculinity, I think we do need to go back to some traditional gender roles of, you know, men shouldn't be afraid to approach a woman that they are interested in or ask them out.
But he doesn't know if he's going to get a you that he's approaching, or if he's going to get a woman who completely humiliates him and makes him feel like a total POS, right? Like if he's sitting and looking at two different women and going, okay, I'm going to approach one, that's where men are at. It's like, I don't know what the reaction's going to be.
Yeah, but
so
a guy
what
has
do
to
I
shoot
do?
his shot. I mean, there's not like, hey, how you doing? What's going on? I noticed da-da-da. Like, shoot your shot. If she's like, sorry, fuck out of here, then cool, move on to the next one. Like, it's not a big deal.
How much of it do you think now is the worry about sexual harassment versus just all the dating apps, and they're just scared? Because it's all DMs and they have no idea how to converse.
Oh, that's a major problem. How'd you meet your wife?
I met my wife. We were both in grad school together, and then we ended up in Hawaii. Both our families were taking trips at the same time at the same hotel. Oh. And I made a post on Facebook, and we were Facebook friends, and she said, I'm going on that hike tomorrow. And then we started messaging each other on Facebook and said, let's go hang out. She brought her brother just in case I was a stalker showing up on the island, you know.
Brought the brother to the date?
There wasn't a date. It was just, hey, let's go hang out, meet at the pool. Gotcha. And then she had to fly home the next day, and her family was staying on. I hung out with her brother the rest of the trip, and we became friends, and then got back on the mainland the next week, and ended up, her friends and my friends were both at the same country concert, and then we kind of connected there, and the rest is history.
You hung out with the brother before. You're like, hey, by the way, just so you know, buddy,
your sister's
take
hot.
Down your sister. Your sister's hot.
Your sister's hot.
You're like, oh yeah, take her to a country concert. She'll like that shit. And then you've been married how long now?
It'll be 11 years in September.
Congrats, dude.
Thank you.
And how'd you meet your man? Have you been married how many years?
So, okay, married and together are two different things. So I've been married twice.
I just opened up a can of worms.
I've been married twice. I'm in that bucket. My first husband was my college sweetheart. And my second husband, I met him at this restaurant by the name of Prime 112, which many of you know.
That's the most expensive restaurant in Miami. You know,
this is a long time ago. We've been together for 18 years now.
Wow.
So it was just, he wasn't supposed to be there. He wasn't really trying to go out, and we met, and a friend begged him to drop her off to meet me because she had kind of stood me up. Long, kind of funny story, but anyway, so we met at Prime 112, and then we went.
Did he approach you?
Not until later. We went to this, he never goes out to clubs, but I was like, oh, you guys are so late, we're going out to a club. And he was like, okay, whatever. So we went to this place called Mint at the time. I don't know.
Mint?
Yeah.
I know Mint.
And so we walked in for 5 minutes, and then he's like, it's time to go.
Because I was at Prime 112 at Mint the other night.
Exactly, right.
Holy shit.
Right, Miles at Prime 112.
Yeah, of course, Miles Chaffetz, yeah.
So, you know, it was fine. And then when he was bringing us back to drop us off, and he said to my friend and her sister, you two go, you stay. And then that was it.
All right.
Hold on, give me that line again.
You two go, you stay.
Sounds pretty toxic to me.
Yeah, I was gonna say that could be. That's why it also depends, like how the girl feels about the guy. Because if a guy said that and he was making you uncomfortable, that would make you even more uncomfortable.
That is
so
true.
it really also depends, like
well,
how
a
girl is feeling.
If the girl's
what do you
feeling
know?
you, like you know.
I don't know
Exactly.
if I was putting on a vibe, to be honest with you, but
you
I was
stayed.
like, fine.
Yeah,
I'm like a very, I don't know, I kind of go with the flow. I see things, but I don't, you know what? I don't attach.
Listen, you
attach
three,
too
get out of
much.
here. You stay. I feel like
that.
I feel
Not
like women
that,
do
but I
like
don't
that kind
attach.
of like a guy taking control of a situation.
Yeah,
no?
men should
Yeah.
take
Making a decision.
Yes.
Yeah.
Men should take control. They should lead. They should. The best piece of advice I always heard: men, they pursue, and women provide the depth of the relationship. So they basically control the timeline. Women control the depth. And I think men should be the leaders. They should take control. And I think in such, we don't have to get into this, but, and again, like women who are working and are trying to be boss babes or whatever, I hate that word, but women want to be submissive. I think the majority of women want a man to lead and again, take control, do your thing. And somewhere along the way, we got lost in women now taking control of the relationship. And I think it should.
Well, the handkerchief was always dropped. We always made the first move technically.
Yeah.
To initiate
Biologically,
contact, right?
it's part of-
To give,
yeah.
you're not going to approach a girl who's not necessarily smiling at you or
That's
giving
not true
you.
at all.
Okay, maybe he's the creepy one.
I feel like it's incumbent on the guy to go up like and be like, "Hey, what's up?" Like,
But
girls
without-
do not make the first move.
But without any
But that's what you're
signals,
saying
without
is
any
that-
smile, without any.
But there's a
Okay.
science to that there is
Eye
an
contact,
energy
sure.
that they pick
Yeah.
up on, that you're open.
It's
or,
like I'm
you
into
know,
you, like
I
the
will- yeah.
pheromones.
Yeah.
I will say when you have that energy, let's say you're sitting across the room at a bar or whatever,
Right.
and you exchange eye contact, that guy is more likely to come and approach you at some point in the night versus if you had no contact.
I
You're
would
not just going to get a pat on the shoulder from Joe and be like, who the fuck are you? You know what I mean? It's
Right.
like, hey, nice to
Right.
meet you, you know?
Right. Right.
Yeah, but I've also seen guys just kind of walk up to girls. Like, I don't want to put you out there, but, you know, Sauce is bold enough where he'll walk up to, you know, some groups
Yeah.
of people, and it's either
Why you
like,
put me out there like that?
I'm sorry, but I'm just saying you don't
Yeah.
necessarily, and maybe this is advice for guys out there, you don't necessarily have to always wait for something to approach a woman. I think it's also kind of good exercise to be approached and turned down. I think getting no's is also good for men, especially when it comes to like lifestyle or even business. So I don't necessarily think you have to. I mean, that's more welcoming, of course. Like, even as a woman, you're like, okay, you know, he's going to come this way, he's going to approach me. But there's some guys who are bold enough. And honestly, I think that's also kind of attractive when a guy is confident enough. He comes up to you and he's like, all right, well, you know, anybody, how are you doing? Like, there's a appealingness when it comes to that confidence when a guy just is bold enough to just come up to you and, you know, say something.
Well,
Yeah,
let me just say one thing. So we talked earlier about like your favorite job or your worst job you ever had, your worst job, your favorite job. We also talk about cold calling and like shooting your shot, and just basically you said that you kind of cold called Tony Robbins, and then it took you 2 years. My worst job I ever had is also my best job I ever had, because my worst job I ever had was I started off as a cold caller for a financial firm. I made zero money my first year. No money whatsoever. I'm cold calling. But that develops competence, and then competence develops confidence. And that same job that I fucking hated, 17 years later, I run a financial firm, and that's helped me make millions of dollars over the last 17 years because I've developed the skill set to actually deal with rejection, deal with people saying, stop calling me, deal with basically overcoming objections, developing relationships. And the same guys 15 years ago that were like, stop calling me, now we're doing multi-million-dollar deals. So when it comes to dating, I feel like a guy, regardless of the Me Too, all this nonsense, a guy, it's incumbent on him to be like, hey, how you doing? Just want to tell you that I really think your outfit's really nice. Whatever bullshit line you want to kind of come up with. And if a girl's into you, she'll be like, thanks, whatever. And then you just say, hey, do you want to drink? Whatever. I feel like a guy, like, I know you're saying that a girl needs to go up and talk to a guy. I never see that happen. The girls very rarely come up to me unless they're like desperate and they're like trying to get laid or whatever. And all
No,
good ladies.
I'm saying.
But I feel like the prettiest girls out there, a guy has to go up and approach. Pretty girls are not going up to dudes being like, so I've been noticing you across, it just doesn't happen.
Some girls
A
do.
guy has to roll up and be like, hey, how you doing, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
and shoot your shot. And that's what I've learned from cold calling or just being like in the nightlife world in South Beach for the last 20 years, that a guy has to be an alpha and step up and do what he's got to do to make the sale, to meet the girl, to find the prospect. because they're not going to come to you. You got to go find them.
But don't you think a girl needs to also participate in that type of relationship if she wants a relationship, right? Like it might be a flick of the hair, it might be, you know, sitting a little bit closer to him, it might be giving him a little bit of sign that, hey, like it's okay. Is that what would you not say
Sure,
that?
like I'll love to have a sign, but if there's some hot ass girl over in the corner and she's facing the wrong way and she doesn't see me and I'm with my buddy, I'm not going to be like, so I'm just waiting on this sign, man. Just, as soon as she flicks her hair, that's my move, bro. I'm going to roll up.
Fair point.
Yeah, girls, like, yes, I understand. Yes, that'd be great to have a sign. But back to the cold caller, like, I'm like, it'd be great if this potential business prospect flicked his hair at me and made me feel appreciated. No, I'm gonna pick up the phone and be like, hey, here's the deal, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Just like you didn't get a sign from Tony Robbins.
No, you
just
follow up,
follow up,
It's
over and over and over and over.
Consistency, I think, is like, you don't give up, right? You're just always at it. I mean, and all these experiences, whether they've been negative, I mean, I didn't share what my worst job was or my best, but I think the takeaway is yeah, they're really bad, but there's still lessons to be learned in them. And that if you can take the lessons, then you're just evolving to the next one. And that's pretty much the goal that gets you to where you are, where you love what you're doing and you kind of find your space, right? But you don't get there overnight. You have to like kind of feel it out, knock your head up against the wall a couple times, and then, you know, the formula presents, I think.
You know, back in the day, they said there was like hunter-gatherer societies.
Yes.
Dudes got to be hunters.
Yeah.
Okay? They're not going to, and with all respect to you, it'd be great if a hot girl was like, hey, how you doing, buddy? But like, a guy's got to go out and be like, yo, we're not going to eat tonight if we don't go kill this buffalo.
It's also
I'm interested to see what you guys think about Bumble then. Because that is one of the biggest dating apps in our
where
time.
the girl has to make the first move.
That's correct.
In my experience,
I
Bumble
think
does
it's
not
so
have a good-looking girl.
unattractive when
I don't even know how it works.
it's like women shouldn't have. It's like guys should try. Guys should be the ones that put in effort and pursue. Again, I think it's almost like what are you, lazy? Like what are you? You know, if you're not into somebody, just like say it. It's like I don't understand why. I don't get this, where the roles, again, were reversed. It's just it's unattractive. Men should be the hunters, 100%.
So you're not just rolling up on dudes and being like, hey, buddy.
Whoa, all the time. Because I can talk to a wall. Like, if there's a cute guy over there, of course I'm going to say hi. Like, why not? Of course, but I think that naturally a man should pursue. I think women would feel more comfortable, we were talking about this earlier, kind of relaxing and being in their own space and kind of providing like more of that femininity if a guy pursued them.
Do you think that's generational, though? Do you think there's a shift now with the newer generation that has kind of women taking a stance like, no, I got this too, you know, don't tell me how to... I'm sure.
I think it also shows, though, it's almost like a test of how they are going to be, like, almost as a father, too. It's like, are they going to take the lead? Are they going to be in control?
I don't know
about
that, sister. I don't know. I mean, I've been married twice with two... I don't know if that's the formula that leads to it, because I think you can go into it with that mindset, but until you're actually a parent, you don't really know what kind of parent you're going to be.
That's a good point.
So I don't think there's signs that you're like, oh, I think he's going to be a great father because he's so sweet, blah, blah, blah. And then you have kids and you're like, that dude doesn't do anything, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't think you know, from my experience, really. I think it's different. Are they a good human? Do they have a strong moral compass? Are they toxic? You know, all of these things, that will then determine if you're going to have a good partner and being a parent or not. Yeah. But the other things, I think it's hard to then assume that automatically.
Let me get some bottom line here, because then we want to move on to the next topic. Because you're married, single, married. Would you rather a guy approach you or you approach the guy? Go ahead, Catalina.
A guy approached me.
Guy approached me.
Same.
Okay.
I'm not approaching the guy.
No. Except for it's your hot wife's brother. How you doing, bro?
I got to win him over.
Okay, Nat, what do you say?
A guy approached me.
Okay, so that's the bottom line. Even though you're encouraging women to go up and talk to men, Men, you got to go shoot your shot. That's it.
Shoot or shoot.
Hunt, shoot or shoot. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I respect that.
Yes.
By the way, here's an article right here talking about men and what they're bringing to the table and shooting your shot. Here's an article about how much money this woman wants her man to make. Last night on a date with a girl, topic came up of how much she would want a man for her to make in order for her to marry him solely for the money that came up. And she's worried because she makes double what she said. Anyway, here's the deal. By the way, she was looking to date a guy who makes between 300 and 500 grand a year.
Ooh.
That was her number. All good. You're a dating coach, so I want to get your thoughts on this. By the way, 17% of men make 100 grand a year. 5% of men make 250 grand. 1% make $500,000 a year. So, ladies, since you want men to shoot their shot, to take a man seriously, how much money does a man need to make a year for you to actually consider him husband material? Go ahead.
I don't know if there's an exact dollar amount per se that I would want my man to make. This is tough. Adam.
Shoot your shot, girl. Shoot your shot. How much would you want your man to make in order to consider him husband material? Would you marry a guy who makes 50 grand, 100 grand,
I think it depends.
$500,000? Say a number.
It's just him, not collectively. Like when we're filing taxes, this is not a joint income situation. This is just him
What
solo.
do you want your man to bring to the table?
I'd say 6 figures.
Okay.
But you have to know that a man that's dedicated to grinding and hustling and making money isn't going to have, as much time for you. So it's you give and you take. If you're somebody who needs like constant attention and wants somebody up your asshole all day to entertain you, he's not going to be making 100 grand plus.
Say that again. You lost me at someone up my asshole. I was like,
Okay. If you're that type of woman that wants to constantly be texting her man, babe, what are you doing every 10 minutes and just like constant like fucking bitching and peckering, constant tension. You have to know that type of man is not going to be making 6 figures, busting his ass on Wall Street because he's not going to have that much time for you.
Clearly,
is my point.
Do women actually want a man that's like peppering them all day, every day? Hey, what's up, babe? What's up, babe? Like being annoying. I feel like that's like.
It's definitely not
counterintuitive
me. I
to
can
what
tell you
women
that.
want.
I'm 180 from that. I've had more men that are like that to me. Like, oh, you didn't text me back in 6 hours. I was going to text your friend and see where you were. Like, why? I was fucking napping and cleaning and running errands. Why?
Okay. Sarah, minimum. I'm gonna come to you, but you're married, so I don't want to put your husband's stuff out there.
Yeah, no, we don't.
Let's go to the single. Let's go to the single ladies.
I don't. There is no minimum. I've dated teachers. I've dated partners at Deloitte & Touche. I've dated all across the board. It really more so matters about their character. Are they honest? Will they cheat? Do they have passion for what they do? Because a man who does not have purpose and passion in his life is not necessarily a happy man to be around. So I would say, somebody where we're not struggling, where we're not having to scrounge together everything that we have just to go on one vacation a year, it would be nice. But I want them to be passionate about what they do and to love what they do. And
so you said you've dated teachers, and that's sort of on the lower end of the financial spectrum, and then you've dated partners at Deloitte, which is one of the big 4 accounting firms out there.
Yep.
So I assume their income was completely divergent.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
What was the different?
Depends on what you value. I mean, do I value going out to a steak dinner every once in a while? Of course. But would I rather have my man home with me, being able to potentially raise a family, having them be present versus the partner at Deloitte & Touche is not going to be able to provide you with that lifestyle, to be up my ass all the time. They're going to be busy. They're building a business. They're not going to.
A lot of stuff going on here.
A lot of ass play going on.
Yeah.
That's just my personal preference for me.
So what would you prefer?
I would prefer the teacher.
You would prefer the teacher who makes less amount of money.
Correct.
But he's more up your ass, I guess, versus the partner at Deloitte who's nowhere near your ass.
That's correct. That's
Why?
correct. Because
I feel like your life would be a lot better with a guy like a good-looking CPA who's 37 years old who met his wife in Hawaii, who just actually met the brother, and they had a great time. Like, I feel like that's what everyone would want.
Well,
no?
it depends on what you define as a good life. What is it that brings you happiness? I know your stance on it, and I appreciate and I
What's my
respect
stance?
that you do value money. You value money for freedom, and you like nice things, and you like to take nice vacations. Personally, that doesn't necessarily bring me happiness. I've had both. I've had the money. I've had the guy who did all the things. And if somebody isn't necessarily emotionally present with you, if they're on a vacation and they're on their phone all the time, that makes a woman feel potentially very insecure. It makes her feel like she's alone in the relationship. So I think there's a balance between money and being a present partner in a relationship.
Gotcha. So there's no minimum. You would date a broke-ass dude if he's home all day, every day with you.
Probably not. They'd need to have some sort of ambition. I think, again, this is about characteristics. This is about...
Got it. So the financial component, not a major factor for you.
No, I've been poor. I could eat macaroni and cheese all day. And
Well, she's one of the best macaroni and cheese makers out there.
Do you like hot sauce on it?
heck yeah, baby. The hotter, the better.
What's that meme or like that saying where it's like, I want hot sauce on my chicken? You guys, have you heard that?
No, I haven't heard that one. Catalina,
Somebody find the soundtrack, please.
how important is your man's income?
I would have to agree with Sarah on this, that I'd rather have a guy who is chasing a dream instead of, even if that means not chasing money, right? I think that a man should have their own purpose and their own journey and sense of who they are and have that happiness, and that's actually better for a relationship than just some monetary value or how much they're making. I do understand that men like to be providers. I also understand that there are a lot of guys out there who get intimidated if women make more money than they do and all of that. I think that there's a fine line. I think about, there are a lot of entrepreneurs, and if we have to cut back on spending because you're building your business and you're building your dream or you're pivoting a career, whatever it might be, I think that matters more, that person who's finding their sense of self and purpose in their dream, than just some, dollar value. For that woman to put some monetary value on what their husband should make, it's like, okay, go get your own job. Like, go provide for yourself, be a better spouse and build something together. And I think there's also so much pressure on millennial men too. You think back on your parents or a lot of older generations, they built something together.
Yes.
They didn't come out with 6-figure jobs after college and then had to buy a house. Like, they struggled together. And I think that there is so much pressure now in our generation to have it all figured out. Instead of actually, those times in life are probably when you actually learn the most about your partner and develop that foundation and that loyalty and that love along the way. My guy had a midlife crisis, wanted to be a janitor. It's like, baby, you go be the best damn janitor ever and make, 10 grand a year. I don't care.
Okay, that's where I gotta stop this whole nonsense.
I was just saying, I think
School is
What is
expensive.
going on right now?
I disagree.
Nobody's dating a
My
janitor.
point is, hey,
Yes.
there are a lot of great janitors out there. My point is, they should find their passion and their purpose, and it shouldn't be about this materialistic world of trying to keep up with some lifestyle, because think about the amount of depression and how hard it is for guys to try to keep up with the Joneses or try to appease their wives who, I'm sorry, a lot of women have become materialistic, and that is unfortunate. They're not being good. Women aren't sometimes, I think, being good partners, and vice versa, right?
Okay.
And there's plenty of guys who like their Rolexes too and get materialistic.
Good.
But I think it's a
should.
false dichotomy that it has to be either you're taking a vow of poverty or you're spending time with your spouse.
Yes.
Right.
Especially, the best way to do it in my mind is owning your own business, because you just have the ability to actually create your life with intention. But I think that also, when it's not just you and you have a family, having some money certainly helps a lot of things.
Yes.
With this craziness of these last couple of years and COVID and everything that was going on, we were planning on putting our kids in public school forever. They're in private school now, and we couldn't do that without having some sort of income.
Yep.
So I think that while you're on your own and live in an apartment or whatever, it's easier to not care as much about the income. And I agree, it's still important to have a passion, but I think that having a passion and then also having some ambition to go provide for your family is important too.
Absolutely. And that security is so important. And again, we want people who are financially stable and are building something. I just think that to put like a dollar sign on or a value is like sick to me. Like what your husband has to make, like $1.5 million in order for you to like consider them. I mean, I think that's it's just not the way I, would operate. But no, I totally understand. You need security, and you want somebody who's financially stable and ambitious.
And to build like you said it, building something together, and that takes on many different phases as you have family. Sometimes you choose. I stayed at home for a long time, raising children. And then I was like, okay, it's now time. I'm at a point where I can go back into the workforce. So, you support each other, and that looks very different at different times based on where you're at. And totally agree. Purpose, determination, consistency. We talked about all this. If you have all that, you will get to that point where you're able to, afford things that you want for your children and for your family and experiences and taking the vacations and making sure your kids have all of that, because you want that for your children. You end up wanting that for your children. But, I think those are, you don't have to choosing one or the other. I agree. I don't think that that's the way to look at it or the perspective. It's where that comes together.
Look, we're going to get into some of the most expensive cities going on in the country. Life is getting more expensive these days, guys.
Yeah.
So with all due
Joe
respect,
Biden.
I don't see the lovely Catalina Loft dating a janitor making $10 grand a year. With all due respect.
Hey, if it was love, you never know.
Okay. All right. So... anyway, can we bring the janitor out? I think he would love to date you. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah.
I feel like, there's lip service, because you don't want to say things like, "Oh, of course I want my guy to
I'll say it.
make
Of course,
6
I want
figures."
my guy to make 6 figures.
Yeah,
I'll
of course.
say it for the ladies.
Because life is getting more expensive these days. I mean,
Exactly.
we'll go through some of the most expensive cities in the country these days, and I want to ask you guys like how you're processing what's going on right now. But here, top 10 most expensive metro areas for renters, okay? Here are the top 10 most expensive metro areas for renters. 4 of them are in California, which you just moved out of, You got New York City, you got Miami, Fort Lauderdale, you got Thousand Oaks, Ventura, California, you got San Diego, your people out there, you got Honolulu, Hawaii, you got LA, Long Beach, Anaheim, California, you got Napa Valley, California, you got Naples on the West Coast here in Florida, you got Washington, D.C. and the DMV area of Maryland, District of Columbia and Virginia, that area you wanted to be in. And then Bridgeport, Stamford, Connecticut, we're basically hedge fund country. There's another article, like, it's so funny, this thing came out the 19th. The 20th, nope, so breaking news, Miami's now is actually the most expensive city to rent in the country. So that's what's going on right there. There's another article right here. 7 cities where 250 grand salary is worth the least. New York is number 1. New York, Honolulu, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Long Beach, DC, San Diego. Basically, 250K is the equivalent of 80 grand in New York, 82 grand in Honolulu, 82 grand in San Francisco, 100 grand in LA, so on and so forth. Basically, money ain't what it used to be, ladies and gentlemen, here. So I know that you're saying that money's not that important. San Diego's freaking expensive.
Yes.
Chicago, it's not on this list, but I know it's not the cheapest place. You're from New York.
Yeah.
Not exactly cheap these days. You live in Miami. You see what's going on out here. You moved out of California because taxes were insane. So things are changing. Like, prices are getting crazy. Inflation is pretty wild. So I know on one hand you're like, well, I don't really care what a man makes. Yeah, well, if his 250K in San Diego is actually worth 100 grand, what does 100 grand get you in San Diego? Like, what, you live in a 1-bedroom place, 2-bedroom place?
I do, on the beach. It's quite expensive.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think, and I'm actually going to be moving soon back to Arizona, which is my hometown. So again, it's about what you value. And I've had the corporate job, I've had the making the six figures, I've worked my butt off. I was working 14 hours a day during the pandemic. And that took my quality of life suffered. So if you find someone, and I think if you both decided, like, this is what we value in our life, right? We value, having a little bit more freedom, to have our money go a little bit longer way, like, then we're gonna move to Iowa, or we're gonna move to Arizona. We're gonna make some life decisions where our money is gonna go further. I would much rather have that than, again, both of us never see each other, be working all the time. Like, what's the point of even being in a relationship at that point? And for me, this goes bigger. This is, I believe, America's problem. Like, we are a very materialistic society, and coming from a girl who grew up on SpaghettiOs, I think that we are moving into a very dangerous territory where we value work and we value the coin over relationships. We are willing to sacrifice our personal relationships, being with each other, we want to send our kids to private school, but at what cost? So that is my question to you all, is like, at what cost?
Let me ask
What if
Tyler.
you can't afford? What if you can't afford what you value?
2 kids. Yeah.
Okay, you're a CPA. You do very well for yourself, I'm assuming, right? Life's good, right?
Yeah.
You're sending your kids to private school. You're living in Jupiter, Abacoa. I know it very well. How does it work in your relationship? I assume you have your provider, your protector, but you're also very present with your wife. How does it work? Is she ever complaining you work too much, or she's like,
sure,
honey, you're crushing it, keep fucking going, I love what I'm doing in life?
It ebbs and flows.
Give me your
so
story.
When we started out, she made more money than I did, actually, in our early relationship.
Do?
So she used to be a recruiter for a biotech company. So she recruited scientists over from the dark side to the dark side of sales, basically. And I was kind of figuring out what I wanted to do with my life. And then I found it, and then eventually, once we had kind of when she got pregnant with our son, is when she decided to become a full-time mom, and now she teaches yoga for private parties, and that's kind of what she gets to do. And then also as a mom, which it's not earning any income, but it's working. It's definitely working. So and at the same time, it goes in ebbs and flows. I think that when you own a business, you're always on, and so there's definitely times when she's like, hey, put your phone down. But then there's also times, we were just talking about this, where at least a couple times a year, we take 5-6 days and go away, just the two of us, and we don't do anything. And we just finished, we were just in the Keys. Our kids went to snorkel camp for like Monday to Friday, 9 to 4. We got a full day every day just to be the two of us. At our anniversary in September, her parents flew out, and we had 4 nights at a hotel, and we just like literally laid on the beach and did nothing and hung out. So I think it's in order to sort of have both, it's got to be periods of intense focus where you are a little distracted and maybe not connected, but as long as you're balanced, it's not balance, it's balancing, and you're going back and forth and taking that time to be present. And like, we try to wake up before our kids. My daughter wakes up super early, so we try to get that coffee time, and then occasionally we'll put the kids to bed, and then we hang out together for a little bit afterwards. Or lunch dates are a big thing when the kids are at school, and so we try to sneak it in. But it's definitely a period of time where I'm distracted and doing work, working hard, especially during certain busy seasons, and then taking time to just totally disconnect and do that too.
I think that's the perfect world, if we're being really honest. I think having a man that is like that can be successful, that can be present. Unfortunately, I don't know. Sometimes you can't have that.
It's work. It takes work. It takes intention. Just like, if you climb up the ladder and then it's on the wrong wall, then you're at the top of the ladder, but it's the wrong wall. I think it's critical to do that with your life and figure out what you want. And it's been a work in process over a decade plus of figuring out what works and what doesn't. So
I also think it's a matter of also like, it's important that you have certain values and things, but what if you can't afford the things that you value? Like, you're living a lifestyle where you're able to take a vacation with your wife and send your kids to those places. Like, people who make no money don't get to do that. People who make no money, they have to be at home. They have to wake up early. They have to work their butt off. They're living paycheck to paycheck. Like, they don't have options. And I think a lot of the time, especially today, it's kind of frowned upon that women may consider, you know, the amount of money a man makes before they make a decision to date them and be with them. It was frowned upon, and it's kind of a shame because I think as a woman, you also want to consider like your family, your kids, your husband, the lifestyle you want to have for them. Like that also takes money. And I think sometimes we just think like, oh, money, materialistic things, that's what goes together. But a lot of the times we forget money gives you options. Money gives you the opportunity to look in different areas. Money gives you the opportunity to send your kids to private school. And of course, that's going to take sacrifice and time. But again, it takes effort to also keep your relationship, any family, if you have money or no money, like it takes that effort, and time is going to be distracted and pulled away. But I think in a perfect world, women are like, you know, we just care about the man. And of course you want to have good values and have those things about a man. But I think you also want to, especially today with how expensive things are, that should be something important. You know, you want to consider how much is this person making, how much am I making, what sacrifices need to be made to live the lifestyle we both want.
But think about if your wife judged you like that when she first met you. And think my godparents have been married for 40 plus years, and they tell me stories about burning chili and, you know, my godmother being in tears because that was the only, you know, money they had to buy the beans for that week. He's a very successful lawyer. They retired on a golf course. They're part of an amazing community in Phoenix. Think about if my godmother was like, no thanks.
Oh, for the same thing with my wife. We wouldn't have been, you know, like
right.
I said, when we started, she was making more money than I was. So I think with that, it's more about earning potential and, and ambition and what are you talking about when you're talking about how you want your life to look. And when we were having those conversations early in our relationship, when I was still in grad school and she was working and going to school at night, you know, we had big conversations about building big, cool things together.
Tyler, is your wife still working? Teaches yoga a couple times a week, but primarily I'm the main. She's no longer the breadwinner.
Right.
Okay, so something's changed in the last decade.
Yes.
Where she went from the breadwinner and you were just kind of starting off your career, and now you're the breadwinner.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
She was an investor.
Yeah, there we go.
Gotcha.
She was the
So,
investor.
yeah, well, that's how, it's funny how that works, because if your wife was still the breadwinner and you were still figuring it out 10 years later,
that would be
buddy, she would have cut your ass off for 10 years ago. No offense.
Yeah.
Like, but the fact that you figured it out, you've made money,
Yeah.
and now she's teaching yoga, even though she was the breadwinner a decade ago, that's the moral of the story right there.
What's really cool, so she quit her job when she was pregnant with our second, and what was really interesting about that is the moment she did that, my income went up significantly. Because
why is that, by the way?
I think number one is I got
like, oh shit, I got some kids to take care of. Yo.
But number two, when you're both working full time and you have children, everyone's burnt out, everyone's exhausted and at each other's throats. When one person can focus on raising the family, and I try to be a great dad too, but like running the family is a full-time job. So then also doing a full-time job on top of that, everyone's burnt out in that scenario. So we got to sort of take the pressure cooker valve, open the valve a little bit on that, so I could then focus on growing my business without feeling guilty about it. And then she got to be with her children, you know, with our children and do that. So
partnership.
Yeah, exactly.
If you were in a company, your CEO, it's a partnership.
And she's the CEO. Exactly.
Is your husband partners with you in your business?
No, my husband has his own family successful business, and they've been at it for 40 years. So, you know, but there was a runway.
In terms of income, does he make the majority of it?
All of it right now.
He makes all of it.
We're still a startup.
Okay, gotcha.
So we're good, but not.
Can we talk about how it's like the government's fault that people don't have money because we're just so overtaxed all the time? These cities are just run so poorly, and yet, well, Florida, a lot of cities around here aren't, but we can't even live anymore because the government is taking our money, our hard-earned money, spending it on God knows what, these politicians included. We're not all that bad, but, and that's a problem. That is the problem. People are working so much now, they barely have any income now to bring home because we're paying half of it to Uncle Sam.
But is that a new problem?
Yeah.
That's always
Actually,
been a
It's
problem.
getting worse.
Fun fact-
Inflation
Well, yeah, of
is
course,
getting
inflation
worse.
is
So fun
Exactly.
fact,
Yeah,
if you
that's
look at
it.
income tax history in the entire history of the United States since there was an income tax in 1918, we are in the lowest
Lowest.
bracket
Yeah,
ever.
ever.
The top tax bracket in the 50s was 94%.
Yeah. I read that recently
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, the
That was the
difference
famous
is-
story with
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan. He would only do 2 movies a year because the top tax bracket was 90%. And he's like, anything over 200 grand, I'm getting taxed at 94%. I'm not going to make a third movie because taxes are insane.
Yeah.
And that's what basically inspired trickle-down economics and all that.
Government was not spending the trillions of dollars that they are spending in today's decade than they were back then. So I'd like to see the
True.
numbers of government spending, which correlates to taxpayers having to foot the bill.
To my understanding, it's we haven't had wage inflation keep up with regular inflation. We haven't had raises to keep up with the lifestyle of living. I don't know what if the accountant has any information on that, but that's all who I.
So I'm more of a tax accountant than an economist, so I can't really totally speak to that. But in general, that's my understanding of it too, is that
Yeah.
wages aren't keeping up.
Wages are not keeping up with inflation.
Well, it depends on what your job is, though.
Yeah.
Because
Wages
if you,
aren't-
if you,
right.
if you
Wages
run a
aren't
business or
keeping
you're a
up.
salesperson, you don't have a ceiling on your income.
It's
And
where
right.
you add value.
But wages aren't keeping up because the amount of regulation, say to start a small business, all the corporate taxes now, it's making entrepreneurs, it's harder to be a small business owner nowadays. You got to pay for healthcare, you got to pay for employment benefits. You have all this stuff, all this money now that is liable to the little guy, or even a lot of corporations are paying so much money, and they can't afford wages at this point because you're paying for so much other things. A lot of it, 90% of it, to the government. Not 90%.
So what's
but
your solution, Professor?
cut taxes, cut regulation, allow for small to medium-sized businesses to thrive, allow entrepreneurs to make it easier for them to start their businesses, and ultimately slash federal funding in the pork that we have on all of these different departments and initiatives. Just so much money that's out there that is causing all of this. Why are we sending billions of dollars to Ukraine?
Well, here's the tax guy. What's the answer?
I don't know about Ukraine.
I mean, seriously, there's so much money out there that is our hard-earned money that is being sent to Uncle Sam, and it's not being managed correctly by the government. And I'm sorry, the American people can manage their own pocketbooks better than the government and politicians can.
Oh,
I think
That's for sure.
there's a lot. I mean, there's so much out there, to your point. And I'm a small business owner. I support in terms of, my husband and their family are really proud of what I'm doing and helping me navigate a little bit. But, I think there's so many distractions out there that we can claim to and cling to stop us from trying to be doing what our dreams are, our businesses. I put all my sweat and tears and money, mine and whatever pennies I could scrap up to do this, and we're profitable, we're sustainable, we're scaling. And yeah, I pay our employees very well because they're so underrepresented in the market. That's part of what we do, is making sure that we are elevating, which are, like I said, all women, to mobility. People don't want to pay childcare providers. They don't see the value in it because that's a whole nother subject. We could do a whole nother story on that. But anyway, so, I think I don't want to just deter people from trying because, I'm going to get taxed, I'm never going to get out. You have to try. We tried this, we said this before. You have to navigate to figure out how to make it work. Whatever you do, your relationships, you got to figure it out. No one's going to figure it out for you. That's not how this works. It's you showing up every day and tapping into people whether it's say, hey, you're a tax accountant. I heard you were neighbors. Can you maybe help me navigate this? Because I don't really understand. That's what it's about. Excuse me. So, I feel that all of these out there, the taxes, this, the Ukraine, this, Andrew, all of it, it's just to keep you in your head like, I can, or this is busy work.
But to be fair, It is easy for you to say that.
No, it's
versus somebody who is waiting tables or
I waited tables.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It is all.
I've waited tables. That
I
was my
understand.
first job. One of my worst jobs, but I learned so much was I used to spray. I didn't come from this. I didn't come from this. It's years, decades in the making of just every day. Every day.
But there are certain challenges that our generation is facing and the Gen Z generation, as far as 2008 home crisis, right, where they didn't produce enough real estate. That's why we are in the position that we are in right now, because there isn't enough. So rent has to go up because the supply is completely depleted. So there are certain things with, and I 100%, girl, I grew up in the ghetto, so I understand. I understand where you're coming from, but I also think that there are certain generational issues that they are facing that we potentially didn't have to face, and they're having to navigate in these big cities. It is very hard to make it.
I would agree with that.
It's a mix.
Yeah.
It's a mix.
And my only point is that the government shouldn't be a factor it shouldn't be a reason why somebody doesn't pursue their dreams. Of course, we sink or swim. We're all entrepreneurs. You pivot. You should go against those obstacles and overcome those challenges. The government should be working for the American people, not the people working for the government.
Or everyone just invest in Bitcoin and let's go.
We're going to do a couple more topics before everyone doing okay. Thank you for the spirited debate right there. By the way, you married, single, married. What were you about to say about Andrew Tate?
Oh. I don't. Yeah, we talked about this earlier. You can
a topic we want to all.
Okay. Well, did you hear what he said about demanding loyalty from your woman?
Oh, interesting.
Here's actually an interesting anecdote from our friend Andrew. He said Andrew Tate demands unwavering loyalty from women while their partners are behind bars. Fans ask, would a guy be this loyal to his woman? Do we have a tweet that he put out there?
This one.
Yeah, here it is right here.
Okay, let me zoom out.
Okay, so he basically, see if you can play that.
Here's why you with her. I know she's hot, I know she's funny, I know she makes you laugh. But if you can't sit in that jail cell with 100% certainty that she's not out with her friends, them in her ear, talking shit, and her ending up with some other guy, why are you even buying her dinner? For what, sex? That loyalty to me is the only thing left that's valuable. If your woman wouldn't wait...
So
keep playing it.
For you, if you went to jail for 5 years, why are you with her? I know she's hot, I know she's funny, I know she makes you laugh.
So basically saying if you're married, single, married, basically the presumption is if you as a man went to jail for 5 years, would your woman be willing to wait around for you?
Ride or die.
Ride or die. So under what circumstance would you be willing to wait 5 years for your man in jail? You're married. If your man went to jail today,
well, I think it depends what he goes to jail for. Yes. Let's start there. Okay. That's a really big one. So let's just put that on the blanket table, right?
By the way, ladies, full disclosure, I have no plans on going to jail. But if I do, you wait for me, girl.
Right, no matter what I did. So I think that's number one. Waiting 5 years, I think 5 years goes by like in a blink of an eye at this point in my life. So it all depends on the situation, and you just put a blanket statement.
You're married, though.
Yeah, I was.
If your husband went to jail for 5 years, whatever it is.
No, not whatever it is, because if it was really something that I just morally didn't agree with, I wouldn't wait.
So it depends on the charge.
Yes.
So if it was like fraud or embezzlement.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I don't think that's a good one to be. But
that's it. That you're leaving your husband. He's done.
That's like the lowest of the totem pole.
That's what I'm saying.
So like, I have a very high bar here.
If it was like a Casey Anthony situation where there's like
a mix-up
children, then maybe.
I don't know.
You have children with your husband.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
And I respect that nuclear very much. So.
But you're not willing to wait 5 years.
I know. Again, I think it depends on what it is.
Okay.
If you said embezzlement and fraud. It depends on how much, I guess.
Jaywalking. He went to jail for jaywalking.
I'm staying.
Okay. So it's a Maslow's
or maybe
hierarchy
not.
of
Like,
needs
how
there.
stupid could you be to get caught?
Natalie, go ahead. Your man goes to jail for 5 years.
And I'm still 24.
Yes.
No kids.
No kids.
I'm not staying.
That's it.
see?
You're gone. Gone.
Boundaries.
Okay. Sarah?
Totally with you on, it depends on what it is. It tells me everything. I mean, was there a firearm involved? Did someone die?
This is your man. You've got family together. You got kids. You got a lifestyle. He's gone away for 5 years, and you want to know what the charge is?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what the
Yeah.
charge is.
I want to be there with
He
the
loves
attorney.
you. You love him.
understanding.
That's it? You're out? You're partying with your friends again?
Well, why would I
I don't know, guys.
Why
I'm
would
just
I stay?
Okay.
What's the incentive to stay with someone if you both went into the relationship valuing honesty, loyalty, trust, having a high values together, like morals?
You're supposed to go down on a sinking ship. That's
I
agree.
I didn't say 50 year, guys. This is okay.
If
All
we
right.
believe in the same God, like my
Catalina,
God. Yeah.
you meet this man of your dreams. He's with you. You got a family. You got kids. He goes away for 5 years.
Okay, I
What do you
agree.
do?
It does depend on what he did. The criminal justice system is sometimes, I don't know.
Give me,
I don't know.
okay,
I'm
so
loyal to a fault, man. I'd probably, again, depends what he did. If I loved him and he was innocent
yeah.
and I knew he was a good man and it wasn't that bad of a problem. Now you go to jail
See?
for like, I don't know, having weed in your car.
So
nowadays,
give me
I
like,
don't know.
all right, if it was this, I'd
I
stay.
don't know.
But if
I
it
don't
was
know.
this, I'm out. Like you guys keep saying it depends what he did.
Well, let's really talk about like what the question is what Andrew
Yeah.
Tate did.
Right.
And we don't know, obviously. That's yet to be determined by.
Fabricated charges, I know that.
But what if it was child prostitution? That's probably not the best man that you want to be with.
Right.
But if
Okay.
they
With
your
are
kids.
fabricated
Yeah.
charges, let's
Yeah.
say, a woman should be loyal to her man and should believe in their innocence first. That's you're supposed to be your best friend, the person your ride or die. And
Yeah.
if you don't have the support and the loyalty from the number one person who you should have support and loyalty from, that's a problem.
Well, let me ask you this. Did he let you know what he was doing in order to go to jail? Were you somewhat aware, or was it, did you get the option to say, okay, I'm on board, sure, we're going to go down, all right.
Yeah, then
Go bury the body together.
Then you're like,
Put it all
Right.
together.
Then you'd
I'm
be
just
an
gauging
accomplice.
your lovely lady's loyalty out here. Tyler, how does it work in your
100%
world?
Yeah.
If your wife was here,
If my
if
wife,
she was on this panel right now, I'm like, yo, what's your wife's name?
Erica,
Erica. You're gorgeous. You're lovely. You met in Hawaii. You met Tyler out there. Your brother, he hooked you up. It's all good. Shout out to the brother. You got 2 kids with Tyler. Tyler did some embezzlement stuff, all right? It was an issue. It was an Enron situation. It was a CPA. He's going to jail for 5 years. What would Erica do?
well, for us, marriage is forever. So, and I was going to say if my wife ended up in jail for 5 years, it was definitely false charges. So, somebody's got to make sure that the family runs and marriage is forever.
Yeah.
So, we'd be doing some conjugal visits and seeing each other in 5 years. You know?
Right?
Answer. I want
T-
a husband like that.
This is what I'm
good.
saying, ladies.
That is good.
Yeah.
You want this. Now, he works hard. He makes money. He's not always there. He puts the phone down for 5 minutes at a time, 5-day vacations. He's making that money.
Yep.
I'm just saying, marriage is forever.
Priorities.
That's right.
Got the priorities. All right,
Man.
well, we got to bust Erica out of jail, bro. We got to get her out of here. Anyway, but listen, it's sort of like a ridiculous question if your husband goes to jail for 5 years. But I guess the reason that I bring this up is we're so quick to like get out of a situation. Oh, no, 5 years is kind of like a time period where it's like 1 or 2 years, like, yeah, of course I'd wait. 10, 20 years, it's like, yeah, peace out, homie. But 5 years is like that weird number where it's like, what did he do? What are the charges? How long do we have kids together? But I feel like every man wants a girl who's loyal, like you said, ride or die. I feel like that's really what a guy wants, right? Where don't you as a woman want the same thing from your man? Loyalty?
100%.
Commitment? Okay.
That's number one, honestly.
So if I go to jail for 5 years, I need to know you ladies are going to be sticking around for me. Shit. All right.
Conjugal visits.
Anyway, final thoughts on that?
Don't commit crimes that you
Okay.
can't.
I'm not getting married at 24. That's my fault.
You're not getting married at 24. What age would you like to get married?
I only got 6 months left, if that's the case, and I hope that's not going to happen.
What age would you like to get married?
You know what's funny is when I was 18 and I was young and stupid and delusional and naive, I used to think I wanted to get married at 25 and have kids by 27.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I'm 24, the thought of that makes me want to like throw up.
Okay.
And just because I'm still learning so much about myself and who I want to be and develop into as a person and what do I want to attract in a partner, not just a relationship, but a partner, to your point earlier, I don't want that right now. I'm not ready for that right now. So to answer your question, what age? 30, probably.
Okay.
If not
30?
later.
You have that clip of that 35-year-old? So, all right, so when you were 18, you thought that 25 would be the number. Now that you're 25, I think that 30 is the number.
Yeah.
You said you're 37?
38.
38? You look like you're 37, though, so I mean, you're looking good. What age would you like to get married?
It doesn't matter. Marriage is not the end goal for me. It's about having a healthy relationship.
Do you want to have kids?
That's not. It doesn't matter.
Kourtney
matter?
Kardashian is pregnant at 44, 42?
Yeah, how much money she pay for that? What age do you want to get married, have
You
kids?
know, I want an entire football team, so my biological clock is.
She is tick,
no,
and you're 29?
I'm 30.
30.
I would rather wait for the right person and be madly in love and have a great relationship than just get married just for the age aspect. But obviously, women are on a biological clock, which is tough. Well, 44, Kourtney Kardashian. She's already had like 3 kids before that, though, right?
That's true.
Yeah, but she was like with Scott Disick at the time. Was she late 20s, early 30s?
But then they had in vitro, and it's just like, I'd like, the process to be,
You don't
but
know.
you want to find the right person instead of just aiming for a number.
Do you have this clip of this 35-year-old girl?
Which one?
No?
No.
Okay, it was the last clip. Behind the mind of a 35-year-old single woman.
Let me pull it up. I don't see it.
I can't hear you.
Let me check because I don't see it in the
Okay, got
Slack.
it. Then don't worry about it. We'll move on.
I have it.
Okay. I actually found this thing interesting. Go ahead, pull this up.
Okay.
I need a husband.
What?
I need a husband, and
Turn up the volume.
yeah, and I don't care.
I'm not really husband material.
You'll be fine.
No, like
We can make it happen.
I don't cook.
I cook.
I don't clean.
I clean just fine.
I play video games all day.
Fine.
I'm talking Fortnite, Overwatch, League of Legends.
I don't care. I need a husband. Okay?
I got 3 kids, and I owe the IRS money.
It's okay. We'll make it work.
Well, come in.
Hey, how you doing? So, you said that you want to be married by 30.
Not by 30.
Yeah.
But right now at 24, if I were to look at my future, around 30 would be more ideal than right now at 24.
Gotcha.
But do you think that also comes from maybe not feeling or not having a specific relationship in your life? Like, do you think if you would have had a man who has stuck by you from 22 to 20 to now and has done everything that you really wanted and you've grown, like, and he was to propose, you would say no now? Or do you think not having somebody is the reason for your answer?
No, I would, if I had been with somebody for a long period of time, a couple of years, and they were adding a value to my life and I knew I was adding a value to their life and we had a beautiful partnership, then yeah, sure, I would get married right now. But because I don't have that and I'm still figuring out, who I am in this skin, I don't want to be married or engaged right now.
All right, dude, I'm not proposing. Relax.
No, yeah, no. I'm just asking just because that does also play a factor. Because you can ask a girl, like, you're not in a place to get married, but you're also not with somebody that you feel comfortable to marry either.
Right.
So it's not bad to get married young, especially if you want to have a football team like Miss Catalina, right? You have to kind of get married younger and do all those things younger. But I think that's also an important factor, like, and Catalina hit this on the head earlier where she said, like, back then, families, they would, like, struggle together. They would come, they would go through that process and journey together. So having a marriage, like, at a younger age was more common, you know, because everyone kind of knew like, okay, we're going to struggle our way to success. So I think like being mindful of like, okay, well, I don't have a partner, so that's why I'm not married. Not because like I don't want to get married right now, but, you know, being open to finding a partner, and then marriage, I feel like becomes a little bit more like in your face at that point because you're in a relationship.
But the baby boomers who did get married at a younger age and who did stick it out now have the highest rate of divorces. And now the younger generation that is waiting a little bit to get married older, the divorce rate is going down. So I think just my personal stance as a relationship coach is you have to take the time to heal yourself, understand what it is that you value in a partner, what is it that you want to build with someone, date for a long time before you enter into a marriage. I think that entering into a marriage just to get married, especially women feeling that pressure just to have kids, I see that turn into a disaster.
Totally.
And I coach clients.
Are most your clients men or women?
Both, and some
What's
have been
the percentage breakdown?
80% men and 20%
Mostly
women.
men.
Oh, interesting.
Yep.
Okay.
Who
What's the most common problem that the men are having?
they're in sexless marriages. Their
Sexless marriage.
wife
Got
hates
it.
them. They are
Wife.
struggling to find
Taking notes.
a woman that they want to date. They're struggling to find women that want to that understand men. But the biggest thing is that they're just in really unhappy situations and they don't know how to get out of it or how to make it better.
Gotcha. And the women, the 20% that are women, what are their biggest problems?
Really wanting to be in a relationship, trying to understand men,
They're not married.
They're not married.
So if I can encapsulate what you're saying, the 80% are men are married and they're in sexless marriages and they're just miserable. And the 20% of women are not married and they're looking to find a man.
Wow.
Yep. They look to me because I have a greater understanding of men than they do. And they're trying to understand, how do I...
So what's your solution for the men?
My solution to the men?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of them struggle with understanding women from an emotional standpoint. They got married young, they didn't value the same things, and now they're kind of both at this precipice where they've had children or they're kind of stuck raising the kids and they don't know what to do. So you have two other options. You can divorce and be happy and go your separate ways and find someone that you do value and you guys value the same things, because people do change considerably, or you get into therapy and you understand why you're fighting so much and why she's so pissed off at you that she doesn't want to have sex with you. And it goes way back to really attachment and bonding and how they can talk to each other. I'm sure you and your wife have gone through some maybe some dry spells, I don't know, at all?
Yeah, I mean, you go ebbs and flows, and, throughout 10, 11 years of marriage, and, the times when you're least connected is when that doesn't happen.
Yeah, so I think people have a choice. Like, they can either decide that we're in this, we're going forward, like we're doing this, or it's time to split up.
And
not always splitting up is always. Sometimes splitting up is, I've done it, and it's very traumatic. It's very traumatic, and it doesn't always necessarily mean it was the best thing. It's just what you did at that time, right? And sometimes staying and you think, oh, I can't stand this person, I can't even look at them, and you can go for that years, and then you figure out a way to make it work. And it's just, like you said, a choice. And I'm only speaking from my experience of, actually having all of these experiences that we're talking about and living them, walking them, that, you have to look at a hard look at yourself. It's not even about your partner.
Yeah.
It's about yourself and where you're at and what you're looking to do, and what people don't really change, but where you're willing to use the word pivot or adjust and grow. Back to your trauma. So it's half of the time, because half of the time these people who do get divorced, you know what? They just repeat the same mistakes that they did the first time.
Yeah.
And they might stay a little bit longer. Maybe she's a little bit younger. But guess what? She's going to want the same things your first wife wanted.
Yeah.
It just repeats itself.
Do you think sometimes, too, in your experiences, that people are sometimes, I don't want to say with each other for the wrong reasons, but it's playing out a pattern, or it's just playing out almost like a fear thing? Because I just think that I just see a lot of couples even my age, our age, are divorcing now. And I know we don't have the research on, as long as baby boomers, but I do see a lot of people getting divorced after 1 or 2 years of marriage. And I wonder if it's just because people don't either know themselves and they don't have the same amount of depth in a relationship that there might have been, 50, 40 years from now. But like, look, and I would love to have the perspective of the married people here, but I truly believe that you can find it all in somebody, that there is a soulmate, the emotional, intellectual, physical, that better half. And I wonder if sometimes people are just kind of settling along the way, or because they don't know themselves, or they don't feel that they are worth finding or having it all. And that's why those guys, when we get in those relationships, if the 80%, like, why are they so miserable? It's like, well, if you had it all and you found, nobody's perfect, but if you found who you wanted to be with, like, would they be that unhappy?
People typically recreate the trauma that they saw in their early childhood with their parents. They just repeat the same patterns. So they're living a life unexamined. They're getting into a relationship. And as you alluded to, you are a much different person. I can tell you 100%, I am not even the same person I was at 25 versus 38. I mean, you go through these experiences and you have to learn sometimes, okay, I don't want that in a relationship. That when I was 22, I learned that. When I was 24, I learned that in that relationship. So to get married young and not really having a great understanding of what is it that you're going to look like at 35, and if two people aren't growing together, like with intention, and saying, this is the life that, like, I can already tell you have an amazing marriage because you had those conversations really early on. Yeah. But a lot of people aren't taught how to have those conversations, or they're not having them, or the chemicals and the 18 months and things are just hot and heavy, and then that's what happens. That's why people
just assume we're on the same page until you're not on the same page.
Yeah, or just
there's no depth.
Tough conversations, and people are afraid to be. People are truly afraid to be alone. Women are facing their fertility issues, right? Like, I have to get married, and so a lot of women will marry the wrong guy because there is that biological clock, and unfortunately you guys don't have that pressure to deal with. So I encourage women, if you want kids, freeze your eggs. Like, make that an option.
What, you're advising women to freeze their eggs?
100%. Okay. If they want kids and they're 35 and they have not found that man yet, freeze your eggs.
Have you done that?
No, because I don't want kids.
You don't want kids?
No.
Why not?
Just never really wanted them. Yeah.
Not your thing?
Not my thing. No.
Gotcha. But you're advising women to freeze the eggs?
I think so. I think, yeah, if that's what
percentage of the women that are that you're dealing with want to have kids?
I'd say maybe 60%.
The other 40%? Nothing?
They would much rather have a partner, and especially the women that follow me all the time, they tell me, I'd much rather find a partner than be in a relationship and miserable, married with a child. Because guess what happens then, Adam? I become a single mother.
Oh.
And no woman wants to sign up willingly to be a single mother. So we have different, consequences to being a woman.
There's certain women out there that are looking to make a football team. And we're going to wish them luck.
Good, because I can offer you childcare and lots of them. I like this.
Wrap it up real quick. Thanks for everything today. I'm feeling a lot better right now somehow, so this is great. Nat, before we go to the happy ending, is there any super chats you want to read?
Yes, we do.
Shout out to everyone watching today. Thanks for dealing with everything that I'm dealing with today. Thank you.
Well, we support you, Sauce. Well, thank you all for the super chats today. We appreciate you guys. I'll go through them. We've got Crypto Keeper. Shout out to you. I see you all the time in the chat. Shout out to you. He said there are no trans men on the panel. Adam, just kidding. Do the ladies have experience with transgendered people and pronouns? And then he also said, Adam's got jokes. Bring the janitor out here. Then we have Cam Shrump. He said, kicked out of class in, I don't know, COL, because of a girl accidentally sprayed her while watering corn. Shaking my head. I don't understand that one. But thank you guys for the super chats today. Let me check if we have any last minute ones. No? Okay. Okay, we are good to go. Thank you guys for those chats. We appreciate all of you guys watching today. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe, do all the fun stuff. And let's go back to Sauce's favorite part, which is the happy ending.
Yeah, guys, so this is the happy ending. So this is at the point of the show where, you know, like a happy ending. You know what I'm saying?
Yay, happy
Happily
ending.
ever after?
Happy ever after. This is a chance for you to look in the camera, drive traffic to wherever you want people to find you, or to kind of give your final thoughts on today's episode. Ayana, you've been lovely. I can't believe you're 50. Ridiculous. Hello, what's going on right now? There's your camera back there. No, you're here. You're here with me.
Hi.
Where would you like people to find you, and what's your message?
So my message is about just thank you for an honor to be here and sharing, and this is part of an experience, so it's been so much fun. So thank you very much. I can be found at itabikids.com, and you know, we are here to help people navigate childcare and a new approach. So just thank you for sharing time with us today.
When I have kids, you're my first call.
I can't wait.
That's it.
I'm waiting for you.
I'm getting a lot of practice right now, but
keep on practicing, and
no
then you'll
football
send them
team
over
yet.
to
I
us.
will. Okay, Natalie.
Well, I don't have a business, so no shout outs yet, but TBD on that, maybe in 5 more years. I had fun today, Adam. It was our first time
Thank
on
you.
your pod. Maybe I'll be back, I hope.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay. If you have those great jokes that you were throwing out there earlier.
I'll bring
About those
Pringles next
jokes,
time.
Yeah.
Sour
Bring those
cream and
Pringles
onion or
jokes.
extra cheddar, maybe?
Deal.
I only have Instagram, Natalie_airs10. That's
Yeah,
it.
everyone's going to be in the
Linked
description below. But
Cool.
thank you. Sarah,
Where do I look?
you're right there.
Oh, I don't
Out
even think
there?
I was
Great.
looking in the right place. I
Yeah.
was looking over there.
Hi, everyone. Sarah Dawn Moore, relationship coach. If you need help understanding what a healthy relationship looks like, how to vet people, how to look inside your childhood trauma and not repeat the mistakes that your potential parents made, I am your girl. Follow me on Instagram at Sarah Dawn Moore and sarahdawnmoore.com.
Don't relive your parents' trauma. That's for sure. The lovely Catalina Loff in the house. There's your camera right there.
Thanks for having us today. It was
course.
fun. I kind of felt like it was like Clue. It's like all these different eccentric backgrounds and
Yes.
coming together. Catalina Lauf on all social media platforms. Just a normal girl running.
Normal girl
Hopefully
trying to
still-
change the world.
Yes, and if you're constipated, buy Begin Health. If your child is constipated, also buy Begin Health. And now looking for first gentleman resumes. So if you are open to having a football team, I'm just
For all
totally
you
kidding.
hot, constipated gentlemen out there, Catalina
type.
Lauf is accepting resumes for the
Yes.
quarterback football team. So funny.
Constipated
Tyler,
quarterbacks.
Well,
thanks for being here, bro.
Thanks for having me as the token dude on this panel.
Yeah,
so
of course.
appreciate it. I'm most active on Instagram, Tyler McBroom, just my name there. I give out free tax tips daily. And my kind of one message would be, if you're a business owner, you can actually do something about your tax bill. So make sure you do tax planning and actually save some money. So that's something that I would
So
say.
you know I'm
is
all about
absolutely
saving that
critical.
money. Awesome. Nat, go ahead.
I actually think my highlight was your comment, brown don't frown, baby.
Black don't crack, brown don't frown. There it is.
No, I think today was a great episode. I think everybody came from different experience and backgrounds, and I think it's important we have conversations like that because I always like to say, you don't know what you don't know. And when we get to have a panel like today, you get to learn from different experiences from everybody, and I'm super grateful to hear everybody's experience, and thanks for sharing today. So it means a lot.
Thanks, Nat. Well,
Yeah.
you know, this show is where finance meets romance, so I feel like we covered a lot of financial topics today, a lot of
Yes.
relationship topics today.
Yes.
We learned that that Sarah thinks that women should be approaching men. I'm on the other side of the aisle where I'm like, dude, step
Just
up.
a flick of the hair.
Find your
Just
girl.
a flick of the hair.
So that's a cue right
Eyelash.
there.
Right there.
If you see a girl fixing her
That's-
hair,
that's so easy,
that's-
ladies.
that's-
And then
that's-
it's on, and they're like, he said.
is that it? Is that the thing?
Oh my God, he wants to marry me.
Right.
Texted back.
Yeah, there it is.
Proposal?
We learned that today. We're off for all next week for July 4th. So enjoy America's birthday, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right.
There's one thing that we stand for here on this show is we love America.
Amen.
Not all the nonsense that's going on in government. We don't want to get Catalina triggered right now. But we do love America, and we love you guys for being here. We'll see you guys when we're back after July 4th. Thanks so much. Peace out.